So today we got a question from Antonio who says that he gets really frustrated and angry and overly aggressive when people are very aggressive with him. He says that, he goes into the gym and he tries to just roll a bit. And then there's some people, maybe it's the white belt who's kind of spazzy, or sometimes it's the higher belts that do some kind of gritty stuff with him. He says he'll go into the gym, and when they start to do those things, when they start to spaz out, or when they start to really try to maybe grind a little bit into him, he says he gets frustrated, he gets angry, and he starts to roll like that. And he says that typically speaking, the angry roll, the overly aggressive roll doesn't typically go his way. He says that typically it's not a good thing, and so he wants to get better at making that not happen. So he sends the message to me, Chewy, has this ever happened to you? And if so, what could I do about it? Or he also asked if it's happened to one of my students, but what could I do about it? How could I address it? So brother, thank you for the question. And this is something that I definitely suffered from back in the day as a white, blue, purple. I probably suffered with this in some way, shape, or form all the way up into my early black belt phase, if we're being completely honest, which we are, right? And so that's something I've dealt with. I had a really bad temper when I was younger, and this is always something that I had to kind of keep in check. I'm much better about it now. This is why, when I watch Gordon Ryan roll, one of the most impressive things that I've seen him do when I've watched his matches, whether in person or from online or whatever, is he never seems to show any emotion. He's just stone cold, no matter what. It's very impressive. I think John Danaher even talked about the same thing. Right? When you're watching him compete, for instance, recently the ADCC happened. I mean, Gavao came out and just smacked him right in the face, and he smiled at him. Gordon Ryan just smiled and kept going. The couple days before, during the ADCC Open, a guy got smacked in the face, and then all of a sudden, fight broke out, and someone pulled out a knife. It's crazy, right? Some crazy stuff went down. But he just smiled. You can even go watch some of his older matches, right, where he wasn't as dominant as he is now. I mean, he's always been pretty dominant for the last several years, but some of the matches would be a little bit closer. You can watch the one that he had with Patrick Gowdy on the IBJJF. That was a pretty close match. He eventually won it, but they were, it was close there for a minute, but he always kind of kept his it looked like he kept his wits about him. He appeared to not be flustered at all. And even when he's lost to Felipe Pena or whatever, or had these long matches with Keenan back in the day, he always sort of seemed just even keel. And I always thought that was really impressive. That's an impressive trait, and that's definitely something that you want for your jiu-jitsu, because if you can keep that nice, cool head about you, this does a lot of things for you. One, you never lose your breathing. That's something that's so important with jiu-jitsu. You can almost be with someone and roll with them, and you can hear them breathe and almost know what's going on with them. And you're like, oh, they're done, or this person's they've got plenty of gas left in the tank, that kind of thing. And also too, it keeps your mind in a much more resourceful state. There's studies that show this, where basically if you get into a hyper heightened state, and you get into a very aggressive state, your vision, you can think of tunnel vision, your mind also does the same thing. It starts to lock out a lot of information to try to zone in, right? Well, when you're in sort of this nice sort of state where you're getting after it, but you're still keeping yourself level-headed, you put yourself in a state that is more resourceful, meaning you can your brain has more access to various options of information that it can choose from. Now, why is that important? Well, if you're rolling with someone, you have to solve this problem of their game, right? Maybe you're passing their guard and they're giving you a particular look that you're struggling with. Well, now you have to piece together, how am I going to break this position down and beat this person? If you're tunnel visioned in, you're not going to be in a good resourceful place. If your mind is relaxed, but you're still aggressive and you're still getting after it, you're going to be in a better place to have more information to choose from, right? And so I've had this problem before. And one of the things that has helped me the most, because at least for me, when I get angry, I feel this energy rise up through my chest, and I can feel my body almost tense up. And there's also certain things that seem to trigger my anger, right? And so with all that in mind, I've gotten pretty good at recognizing it, right? I think one of the most useful things we as people can do is recognize our faults, the things that we do poorly, the stuff where we're broken, right? Most people don't want to do that, but it's really useful, because then it allows you to do something with it, right? And simply recognizing it, Antonio, that's a good thing, right? Because now you can be ready for it. And to me, awareness in itself is super useful, because here's what happens. You get used to it coming around, and then you can get better at basically putting some guards up or preparing for it. Right now, at the time of filming this, there's a hurricane that's moving into Florida. And, I see all my friends down there, they're boarding up their houses and they're getting the hell out of there. they're preparing for it. They know it's on the way, so they can make it adjustments accordingly. I hope everyone's safe. I hope nobody dies from it. I hope it, just putters out in the Gulf or something, right? But nonetheless, the fact that they can prepare for it means that there will probably be a better outcome. If there was no warning signs and all of a sudden a hurricane just dropped into the middle of Florida, you best believe there's going to be a lot of chaos and bad stuff's going to happen, right? But the fact that they can prepare is really useful. And with you, man, it's the same thing. The fact that you know it's coming, you can prepare for it. So that's number one. And you get better at it, by the way. Like, you get better at recognizing it as it comes. It's going to be there's no like instant fix on this one. This is one like, this takes work. It's almost like meditation where, your mind gets away from you and you have to like, come back to the breath. You start thinking about something, come back to the breath. You're going to get those days where it's going to get away from you. You're going to catch yourself that you're angry, and then you're going to do what I'm going to tell you to do now. So the thing that's helped me out the most, and I started doing this back in the day, and I didn't know, like, it was just this breath that I did. But now, like, I think Andrew Huberman was talking about it in one of his podcasts, that it's called the physiological sigh. So it's 2 rapid inhales through your nose and then kind of a sigh out through your mouth. So it's a... That breath, that type of breathing has helped me with anxiety in the past. Like, I've suffered from anxiety issues in years ago, and like just doing that allows me to kind of settle down a little bit. And if I find myself, I feel that energy coming up, I've trained myself where if I feel that energy coming up, I might be getting smashed. I might be having someone grind my face down like this. And if I'm getting angry, it doesn't matter. I'm going to do my little breath right there. And so those 2 things, being aware that it's coming, being ready for it. And then as soon as you feel that coming up into your body and you feel that anger, that aggression start to get away from you, do your breath, right? Because again, this way you can stay in a nice level-headed position. And again, understand it's not going to be an instant fix. It's going to be a sort of a practice that you're going to have to do. But the more you practice by bringing it back down and keeping yourself cool, calm, and collected, the better off you'll be at it. And again, it's a really important trait to have, right? Like I said, I watch Gordon Ryan's matches, and it's one of the most impressive things, besides how good he is with his technique, that's one of the most impressive like traits that he shows, is just never being flustered. And so yeah, anyway, that's the idea. And again, we're at 7:22 at the time of recording this, so always long-winded, but hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you next time.